Tim Petrovich of the Daily Republican here with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin as we head into the home stretch of the regular season. Final home game of the year is senior night Friday night, and the Carbondale Terriers come to town. Last week against Centralia, you clinched at least a share of the conference title. With the win over Centralia, you clinched the automatic playoff bid in the conference, which you'd already clinched a playoff spot, but now you clinched the automatic bid. Talk about that game a little bit. A lot of points, and you mentioned after the game something you kind of expected.
Well, it was. I mean, sometimes you prepare for a game and maybe it turns out totally different than you expect. Sometimes that happens. In this game, it was almost like the way it panned out is the way I visualized it from the first night we prepared for them. You hope that they're not as good on offense as you see them on film, but they were very good on offense, and Coach Cullen does a great job in spreading the ball around and making you play in space, and they were a very good offensive football team.
Well, you talk about that. You know, a lot of people think about their quarterback, Saikovich, or however you pronounce it, but you know, he threw quite a few times, but Campbell threw out of their Wildcat formation.
Right.
And, you know, everybody talked about Fritsch being the Division I receiver, but they threw passes to 4 or 5 different people and touchdowns to 3 different people. So they do spread the ball around a lot.
They do. And that makes them really tough to defend if you bang too much on one player. Like Fritsch, they can hurt you with some other people. But even though we banked on Fritsch quite a bit, you know, and I think everybody does, you should, he's still able to make plays. He's a special player, and I do think he's going to certainly play at the next level next season.
We've talked all season about Shaquille Ivy and the season he's had, but I go back to last Friday night and I see Torrance Stanley with 140 some odd yards rushing, Henry Jones with close to 120. You had 500 yards rushing for that game. A lot of people. Alex Long, we talked about him with some not a whole lot of yards, but some key runs on drives. You had a lot of different people participating in the offense as well.
We did, and we were blessed to have a number of good running backs. And I think back at the beginning of the season, we came in with Herbert McMillan and Colton Reel as 2 of our starters, projected starters, and neither one of those players is going to be able to finish the season. And we lost 2 great players there, and other guys have stepped up. Torrance played more running back for us, and Henry, of course, has been a really pleasant surprise. And Cedric Neal's had some key runs for us, and Alex Long, and so it's someone said our 2-headed monster turned into a 3-headed monster on Friday, and that's okay with me. Our challenge right now is to get more players stepping up and making us even a better football team. We challenged some kids today in practice and through the week, and we want more guys stepping up like Henry has, and stepping up like Dylan Ward has this season, and Jake Weaver and others, to continue making us a better team. And we're trying to spread the ball around too in our own way.
I have to ask this question. If you think back, because we're hearing now as the season goes on, Harrisburg's lost a key player. Now they're worried about how they're going to finish the season. You've had some other teams around that have lost important players, and it's really affected the way their season outcome could be. Holden Reel might arguably have been the best offensive player you would have had on the team coming in, with the experience he had last year and the type of a player he was, the versatility. And you talked about Herbert and him not being able to play. So I guess this is a 2-part question. The first part being, how scary would this offense be with those 2 players at full strength? And the second part is, how blessed do you feel knowing that you've got 2 of your best offensive players that haven't really been able to contribute, and you're still doing so well?
It's a tribute to the kids. It's a tribute to the coaching staff that works with these kids every day, and they're able to get some other kids ready, and the coaching they do for me throughout the year. But I feel bad, of course, personally for Holden and Herbert to have lost so much of their senior year, if not all of it. But at the same time, I think you're right. Arguably, Holden came in as the #1 offensive threat based on last year's statistics. Sure. I mean, catching and receiving, this kid can do it all. He was our Wildcat quarterback. I mean, we were going to put him in the Wildcat and let him do some things out of that. And he can throw it, he can run it. I mean, he was going to bring another dimension to the offense, and we certainly have missed him and missed his leadership and his character. And we're glad he's still around, but of course he's not a performing player right now. And Herbert, I think, was really coming into his own. Granite City, he ran the ball extremely well. We were excited about how hard he ran the ball and how fast he looked. And then we lose him to 2 different injuries within the first 6 weeks. So But we are blessed to have a number of other kids stepping up and filling some voids on both sides of the ball. And that's what you got to have if you want to continue being successful. Because you're right, injuries can take their toll at every level of football as the season progresses on. We've got to stay healthy.
We have talked about the defense, and we've talked about the defense several times for the way they've held their ground, not giving up a whole lot of points, not giving up a whole lot of yards. The last 3 weeks, the defense has scored 4 times, and it's been on big plays. I mean, all 4 of those plays have been at least 52 yards or longer. Did you expect the big play scoring capability out of this defense?
Well, I mean, when I look at the personnel, we thought the potential was there because there's some pretty good athletes on that side of the ball with Marcus and Jay Riley and Torn and Shaq, and I think our defensive line is pretty athletic for the defensive line. I mean, I think the potential was there. Our better teams here have been teams that had big play defenses. You know, I think back to the number of big plays a kid like Derek Moore could make for us, or Micah Markley, or some others. And so I love that big play potential. It takes some pressure off the offense, it brings some excitement to the game. It allows us to change the momentum of a game very, very quickly when you do what we did at Althoff with the 94-yard fumble recovery or Troy Slinker's interception return. Those are big deals, and those are big game changers for you.
Talk about Carbondale. They're always a very athletic team.
Yes.
A lot of good skill players, and this year I'm sure is no exception.
No, they're a good football team. You know, they're in a must-win situation. I mean, this is a playoff game for them, as will next week be for them. They're playing this to make the playoffs, and Coach Custer does a great job. He's got a fine quarterback in his son, and he's got some very good running backs. They play solid defense. You know, we just, you know, they're a good football team, and they're a team that, if they haven't won, they've been in every game they've played in, and we know they're going to come in here hungry, and they're going to play us tough like they always do, and we'll have to bring our A game to win it.
I think the great irony in this series is that year after year you go into this game where one team or the other's not giving up a whole lot of points. There's been a lot of low-scoring games throughout the season, and then it seems like you just open up the floodgates and score a lot of points.
Yeah, he said something to me in the offseason about defense never determining the outcome of our games, and it's so true. And even if both defenses have played well through the season, it seems like we're in the 30s, 40s one year, in the 50s and 60s. 63-50, I think, one year. So, yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen in this ballgame. We have had some shootouts. We've had some wild games. If you like exciting football, Friday night at our place is going to be good.
It's homecoming Friday night, a lot of motivation. You made the comment in practice earlier this week that someone asked you, how do you keep motivated after you're 7-0? I got some numbers that might help that. 1967, 6-0-3. 1963, 9-0. 1934, 8-0. Only 3 teams in the history of Marion High School football have gone undefeated during the regular season. That right there, you have a chance to become the 4th team to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of history involved in what we're doing, and we tell the kids that, you know, history is going to have to take care of itself as we take care of the season one game at a time. You know, if we start looking ahead at being a 9-0 or 10-0 team and trying to write history, well, you got to remember, to be 10-0 or 9-0, you got to be 8-0. You know, we've got to win Friday, or all that thought of being 9-0 and 10-0 and 11-0 doesn't matter. So it's imperative we stay focused on this ball game and let the season progress. Take them one week at a time. The old coaching cliche: play them one at a time, and then step back when it's all over and see where we've ended up. And we've approached this whole season one game at a time. We've got to continue doing that. But those are nice incentives. Those are nice motivators to hang out there.
We've talked about this from year to year, but different group possibly means different things.
Yeah.
What do you do to prevent some of the distractions that come along with homecoming week?
Well, our approach to homecoming has always been to allow the kids to have fun and enjoy it. And rather than see homecoming as a distraction, see homecoming as a reminder. Every homecoming activity is a reminder of the homecoming game on Friday. You know, and sometimes, you know, kids get distracted during the week, and then all of a sudden, boom, you got Friday game day, and maybe they're not mentally ready. We tell the kids, powder puff game, the bonfire, the pep rally, all of that stuff is simply a reminder that we got a big game on Friday. And when you go to the grade schools and have breakfast with the kids and sign autographs, that's a reminder. So we hope it's not a distraction. We hope it's a reminder to the guys that this is important, not just to them, but to the community, to the schools, to the school kids here, to everybody. And a lot of class reunions take place this time of year, and they're coming home to see the Wildcats and gather all those things together and use them as motivation.
What do you need to do against Carbondale to be 8-0 at the end of the night Friday night?
Well, you know, it goes back to we've got to take care of the football. We got to play good run defense, and we got to run the ball. And I've hung my hat on those three things. And even in years when we threw the ball really well, I believe that those three things are the most important thing, because if you can stop the run, if you can run the football well or effectively anyway, and you can create turnovers and not create any of your own, I think that's a great sign. And I believe those things are going to hold true. I think special teams can always be a factor in a ball game like this, and there's no doubt about it. They want to run the football. We've leaned on that pretty heavy this year. Maybe the defense that does the better job of stopping the run wins this ball game.
All right, Coach. Friday night's homecoming, final home game of the season. Carbondale Terriers. See you here on Friday.
Sounds good.
Kerry Martin, head coach of the Marion Wildcats for the Daily Republic and I'm Tim Petrovich.